Welcome to this week's Pascal's China Lens. And last week, my colleague Peter Hinson from Nextworks asked me the question whether Chinese students, with all the tensions between America and China happening, would still continue to study in the US or not. With all the pressure between America and China these days, the question is, what are Chinese students that are traveling abroad to study going to do in the future, post-corona, in 2021 and beyond? Well, I think there's a lot of things going to change. And today there's a lot of students traveling abroad or studying abroad. In China itself, it's 8 million people graduating from university every year, so a huge amount of students. Of that, 4.6 million are actually graduating with a science, technology, engineering and math degree, so a STEM degree, so almost 5 million people. And many of them do their master degree or doctorate degree or postdoc in America or Australia, Canada, UK, places where they speak English, and they enter often the best universities. If you look at all the university lists, the top 100, I mean, most of them in the world are in the US and in the UK, so that's where they want to go. It's also a fact that if you look within these universities like MIT, Harvard, Berkeley, Oxford, Cambridge, the best students are often the Chinese. Also because the Chinese education system is so tough and there's a lot of difficulties to get into these universities. So great students traveling abroad, it really helps the economy because individually every country, US, is getting $4 billion in tuition fees every year from 370,000 students entering every year. Australia is 140,000. UK and Canada is about 120,000, and UK has almost $2 billion in tuition fees every year from Chinese students. So they can't just lose that. That would be so much money. Now, why are Chinese students study abroad? Or why do they study abroad? The main reason is experience, diversity, the best universities, but they want to be able to show and tell their social environment as well as for their job opportunity in the future that they've lived as a global citizen. Their parents support that, and the parents will tell their friends, yeah, my son or daughter is studying in the US, it's cool, it's the new luxury of China. So they want to do this, and they will continue doing this. Now, some of the not so good students, not the smartest, they might not enter the exams in China, and so they might go to the US or other places because they can access a university in the middle of the US somewhere which their parents think is cool, but it's also because they didn't get into the best universities in China. And maybe that will help them over time as well. That means that the tuition fees, which is often $50,000 to $100,000 a year, are paid by these Chinese parents. Now, these universities and higher education environments, they will lose that money if these students are not coming anymore. And what's happening now with the tensions between America and China is that it's starting to change. So just the last months, America revoked more than 1,000 visas of Chinese students because they were linked somehow to Chinese Communist Party or a military research institute or a school. And these are actually the best schools in China and universities as the military schools. But yeah, you happen to have studied there, you're not allowed in the US anymore, even if you're some of the best people in the world when it comes to science. So this is a problem. And because of that, the narrative in the US has become that most Chinese are spies. And so that means that these Chinese students are feeling everyone around them starting to look at them like they're trying to steal stuff from America. And so this is fueling racism. And a lot of Chinese students don't feel at home in America anymore. And the parents are not comfortable anymore and don't trust anymore the political and academic system of the US because of that. And so the parents and the students both are reconsidering to not go to America. And so where are they going to go? They're maybe going to go to other places, but almost 40%, according to certain surveys, are not reconsidering not to go to the US. It means a lot of US universities will lose their budgets. Maybe some of them will even go bankrupt because of it, especially with COVID-19. They've already lost a lot of money. And of course, there's still this online learning now today. And you could say, yeah, students in America that are basically getting online learning courses, there's maybe less risk. But there's a new regulation in the US now. If you study online in university in the US, then if you don't have any local education or courses that is happening physically offline, then basically you can't stay in the US. Your visa will not be prolonged. So a lot of Chinese students, because of the online courses now with COVID-19, will be forced to leave the country as well. So we're going to see a lot of students leaving the US or not going to the US anymore in the years to come. So where are they going to go? I mean, Australia is not a very good choice because Australia, just like the US, is following the same example to kind of ban Chinese students more and more. Now, the problem is 25 to 30% of the tuition fees of Australian universities are coming from Chinese students. Are they going to survive? It's going to be a big pressure. In the US, because of the declining investments or subsidies to universities and higher education, these Chinese students have become the cash cow, paying so much money for most universities. So it's changing the whole economy. And Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google, said very clearly that America was made big because of this collaboration of people from everywhere in the world, that immigrants, but very smart people that came to the best universities that America had and still has, to actually work together with other researchers and coming up with great ideas. If we stop that, Eric Schmidt says, that's going to be really a problem for the US down the road to compete with China on innovation. So I think that is actually going to change. So where are they going to go? Parents don't trust it as much anymore out of China. The students are worried. So it's going to go more and more to Europe. And what we see already is that UK this year has surpassed the number of enrollments compared to the US in Chinese students. So we see this move going closely to Europe. And if the European universities and higher education would start offering more online courses, I'm sure the Chinese would go more and more to the European Union countries. And so I think this move will continue. I don't think the Chinese will stop going abroad because they really feel that this is about experience and about diversity, and it helps their education, and it's about becoming global citizens. So they really want to continue this. But it will all depend on how Europe will respond in inviting them, yes or no. But I actually believe, because you have all these smart people coming from China wanting to study overseas, this could be an opportunity for Europe to increase its innovation by working together with people that actually are very ambitious to do the best research and to share that with other researchers here in every country in Europe. So I'm very positive that this won't change much. But I think it will be at America's loss, at Australia's loss, and maybe some other countries that will follow the example of America. Now, I'm convinced that Europe has a huge opportunity to take on the losses of America when it comes to Chinese students studying abroad. If we're not going to do it, the Chinese will be forced to actually invest more money into their own education to keep them at the top level in China. And that is just going to make China even more competitive compared to Europe and America. So I hope this is an answer you liked from this week, and I'll see you all next week on another episode of Pascal's China Lens.